yeah, I don't know. It's just more of a personal thing for me for skiing because I've been doing it so long, and my my goal since I was 10. I first wanted to be the first woman over 10,000 points, but that didn't happen because Clem did it, and I was only like 14 at the time. So I was tricking. I think the day she tricked 10 was the first day I tricked 9 for the first time. We were at different tournaments, but I still remember, and I was so mad because I was like, I wanted to be the first one over 10, and so then after that I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to be the first over 11, I guess. So I still remember that. It was just a personal goal since I was young. So I think it's just, I don't get any. I obviously, like there's not that much fame or money that comes from the sport, but it's just, it's just something I've been doing for so long. So it just some, yeah, lifelong goals, I guess, that I just needed to do to finish just for myself, I guess. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our next episode of the Water Ski Podcast. Sorry for the delay. First time in 13 episodes that I didn't post on a Tuesday. I've been traveling back to the old continent for the Christmas holidays. So a bit of traveling, got here this morning, Italian time. So it took me a second to sit down and edit this episode. This episode is a good one. It's an interview with Erika Lang. Now, Erika is amongst the very, very top female trick skiers of all time, and as of last month, she has the highest trick score of all time. So she's currently the world record holder in tricks, and what a better occasion to interview someone. Now, Erika is also very interesting because she's a dual athlete. So she tricks and she wakeboards, both at very stupidly high levels, honestly. So it was a great opportunity for me to sit down and talk to her. This was over Skype. So she was in Arizona, I was in Florida, but we worked it out. And very good conversation. I personally learned a lot about wakeboarding and also what is common between wakeboarding and trick skiing, some of the differences. Erika touches on a lot of things in this interview. So yeah, keep supporting the podcast, keep subscribing, tell your friends, simple. Tell your friends at the lake, or maybe now it's a little too cold to go to the lake, so shoot them a text, tell them to listen to the Water Ski podcast, and let's keep growing. Let's keep promoting the sport. So yeah, enjoy the interview. Well, sweet. Should we roll into it?
I'm ready to start. Yeah.
Let's do it. Well, Erika, what a pleasure to have you in my podcast, at the Water Ski Podcast. Thank you for accepting this interview. Stoked to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Sweet. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Yeah. This season was a really good season for me. I'm happy with how everything went in both skiing and wakeboarding, and I'm looking forward to an even better 2020 season. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're doing this over Skype. Where are you calling me from?
I'm in Gilbert, Arizona right now, where I'm from. Yeah, so I go back and forth between Orlando, Florida, and Arizona, but I'm home right now visiting my family for the holidays.
You have a nice Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was really good.
Sweet. Did you get to ski or ride yesterday, or
I
family?
did, yeah. I've been skiing here at home in Arizona. It's still warm enough. It's a little bit colder than Orlando, but it's still skiable. So yeah, I skied yesterday on Thanksgiving. Tried to burn off a little bit of that food,
Right. Yeah, that's what I was asking, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. And do you have any events coming up, or is sort of like off season?
Yes, and so now I'm done for the season. This was definitely the longest and the most events I've ever had in a season before, with all of the wakeboarding and skiing events. I just finished in October, I think it was. I had Wakeboard World in Cancun, Mexico. So that was the last one. And then before that, I had a bunch of record tournaments that I was going to. But yeah, it started in March and it ended in October, which is definitely one of the longest seasons I've had. So yeah, now I'm in the off season, which has been super nice so far. So just kind of taking it easy and relaxing for a bit.
Sweet, sweet. Do you like to take like some time completely off the water, or you're sort of keeping your legs, on the trick ski on the board?
I still go out every so often, but I definitely take about a month at least of where I don't really go at all. So probably coming up, I might just think I'm going to be done for the month of December, and I'm going to go snow skiing and snowboarding in
Nice.
Colorado a little bit. So yeah, I like to take a little bit of time off just to kind of get the motivation going again and re-energize for the next season. Because
Fantastic.
I find if I keep going, then I get burnt out more quickly. I just want to be fresh starting up, but I also want to start soon again because I have some things and different tricks I want to start working towards, and um, it seems to be harder to train when there's a lot of events going on. So it's nice to have that off season to also work on new things and everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Hmm.
then obviously as both a tricker and a wakeboarder, you have that balance of like, do I work on my run or do I work on new things? And then when do I
Hmm.
implement the new things?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but one of the things, because, in my opinion, obviously trick skiing is like the most, the event that requires the most discipline, and people
Hmm.
have, generally successful trickers start early on.
Hmm.
So I'd be curious to hear your early days. Like, how did you get into trick skiing, into water skiing in general? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I grew up on a water ski lake in Arizona. My parents were both competitive water skiers. My mom used to do the tour for slalom back in the day, and yeah, my parents I grew up on a ski lake here, and I they started me out when I was 2 years old. My first competition was when I was 5, and they started me in both slalom and trick, and then I jumped for a little bit as well, but I was also a gymnast until I was 15, 16. So I was a level 10 gymnast, which I think really helped me with trick skiing, just
All right.
because all of the flips and strength and air awareness and coordination, all of that came really naturally and easy for me. So
Mm-hmm.
just starting tricking when I was really young, and uh, also with the gymnastics, everything just kind of fell into place, and I just picked it up really fast. And um, I had a lot of coaches around in Arizona at the time as well. I had Jimmy Seamers here. He was going to college. I
Yeah.
had Jimmy Townsend, a Canadian skier as well, who was a really good trick coach. I had him. They were the I mean, they helped me so much when I was young. They're pretty much the reason I guess I got good when I was younger, and then more recently I've had Richard Abelson and Matt Reaney help me. But when I was younger, yeah, I kind of had just like the perfect, uh, I don't know, everything worked out. I had the perfect coaches, the gymnastics, the living on the ski lake since I was little. So yeah, I just had
Yeah.
like kind of like the perfect setup, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this you had the setup right there at home.
Hmm.
You had the training
Yeah.
off the water that certainly helped you a ton in trick skiing, right?
Yeah.
And you kept. So I knew that you were a gymnast, but I didn't know that you kept training until 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, so I was a level 10, so I mean I could have done it in college. I was at the collegiate level with it. So yeah, that was like my main sport. I mean I skied as well obviously, but the skiing for me was more the fun thing. The gymnastics was I had to go 7 hours a day until I was 15, 16. So that was like for me that was for me it was the more hard event that I had to do. When I got to come home for an hour of the day, I would ski, and that was so fun because I just got to get on the water, get on the lake, and have fun. So then I decided I was kind of burnt out with the gymnastics because of how time consuming it was. But yeah, I guess I chose the water sports over the gymnastics, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, and obviously gymnastics is an insane commitment. And I find it interesting how, skiing was like almost like your escape, it sounded like, you got an hour at home and you would ski.
Yeah, I would go to school, and then I would actually get out of school an hour early so that I could go make it home to ski. I wouldn't do PE at school. I would get out of school an hour early so that I could go ski before I had to go to gymnastics. So I had an hour of time between school and gymnastics to ski. So yeah, it was definitely my escape and kind of that was like the fun part of my day. So
yeah.
So now for me, I've always been skiing. It's so fun for me. I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
clearly I don't know that you really needed that hour of PE. You seemed like you were physically active enough, right?
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's amazing.
Thank you.
And so at a certain point, gymnastics sort of faded away, and you started committing to skiing. And that was around 16, you said?
Yeah, 15, 16. I think it was more when I think I was 15, close to 16. But yeah, I think I was 15. Sophomore in high school. And yeah, I could have stuck with the gymnastics and, gone on and gotten a collegiate scholarship. But I realized I didn't really want to do that. And my skiing was kind of taking off at the time. I was tricking really well, and I just had a lot more fun with it, and I knew that I could ski in college as well and go to a university and just do that. So yeah, I chose that, and I'm glad I did, because I mean, sometimes I think maybe I should have stuck with the gymnastics, but I mean, gymnastics is such a short-lived sport. All those girls are, you either go to the Olympics or you're done at 22 after you graduate college. So water skiing and any sport on the water, it's such a lifelong sport, family sport. So, I mean, I'm glad I chose that because I can do it forever,
Yeah.
And
For sure.
So
No, I agree.
I'm happy with my decision.
For sure. And
Yeah.
and I think that's what's brilliant about our sport, right? Is the longevity of it is so long. Like you can continue to do it as long as you like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might not be at the top level anymore, but you can still continue to do it and pass it on to future generations, and so it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's outdoors. It's good. It's good
Yes.
fun. It's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like so you're 16. Like you came to our house at Junior Worlds in 2010 and crushed it in tricks there. Remember?
Oh yeah, and
San Gervasio.
at the Junior Worlds, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I ended up getting second there. But yeah, that was kind of the start to my that was like one of my first big tournaments, I think it was. Yeah.
So like as gymnastics sort of like, was left aside, and you were sort of like committed to skiing.
Yeah, and I was always committed to skiing. It just I guess I couldn't it kind of all happened at the same time. I kind of quit skiing when my skiing was sort of starting to take off and everything. And then I could travel more for events because the gymnastics was so time consuming. The coaches would always get mad at me for leaving for skiing.
Right.
Because I wouldn't go as much as some of the other girls because I had to go to ski events in the summer and everything. But
right.
Yeah.
Right. You started at 2, so I'm assuming you don't probably remember your first set.
No, I don't. My parents have a picture of me though. Apparently, I got up on my first try on two skis. They just started me off. They just started me off the beach, and then I just stood up and went down the lake, and and then I remember my first tournament was when I was 5 in slaloming, but I got last, I'm pretty sure. But I think it was the Western Regionals. That was like my first big tournament. And like girls won, and I got last. And I think I was so sad because my mom told me that I don't think she told me I got last, but I don't even think I made a pass or something, so I was pretty upset.
Right, and then girls 1 goes all the way until 10 years old, right? Or something
yeah,
like
so
that.
I was super little, and all the other girls were older, but
Yeah. Do you remember that set?
I think I do, honestly, but maybe it could just be because I've seen pictures, but I feel like I remember, but maybe not.
Okay. Okay. What is the
Yeah.
first ski tournament that you remember clearly? Like, you remember the set, you remember what happened?
Mhm. Let's see. Well, I mean, I always grew up going to the regionals and nationals, the U.S. regionals and nationals, and I mean, a lot of those I remember very clearly. Um, yeah, it'd probably be one of like my first regionals or nationals. Just all of the, because there's just so many young kids around, and everyone's just kind of having fun. And I don't know, because I think when I was younger, I definitely trick skied, but I used to, I think when I was younger, focus on slalom more because my mom was more into slaloming.
Hmm.
That's the only thing she really, and that's what she's really good at. So I would I would focus on slaloming. So I definitely remember some slalom tournaments when I was little, but the tricking I kind of started picking up more when I was around the age of 8 or 9.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I did it, but that was when it started really clicking for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember my first tournament, but I definitely just remember going to regionals and nationals and having all the kids and um, yeah, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, well, it sounds like it was, right? Like, and then it
Yeah,
sort of became this sort of like escape from gymnastics, so to say. Like
yeah.
they're like, oh, I get an hour to ski, and
I
then
get an
off to
hour to
7 hours.
ski. Yeah, just go hang out on the lake, go swimming, go in the boat. Like it was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I've been to your place. I mean, it's a gorgeous ski lake. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you.
That's unbelievable. No wonder you couldn't wait to go home to ski.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I'm so thankful for how I grew up in the lake that I was able to ski on every day because I mean, it's similar to a lot of the Florida lakes, but I think if I grew up, I give so much props to people who grew up in where it's so cold because I don't know if I would have been able to do it. Like going
Right.
home and Arizona, it's always so warm and it's so easy to train. It's like in my backyard. Some other of my competitors they had it a little bit harder, like not as accessible to ski. So I
Yeah,
give them yeah so much credit for becoming so good
of
because
course.
my setup is definitely is definitely very easy.
No, yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic, and I think it says a lot about you that you're aware. Like
I'm
of,
aware of it. Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Um, and then, so like college, you went to Rollins, right?
I did. Yeah, I went to Rollins and I graduated in 2018. So about a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay. So yeah, fairly fresh of graduation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
hmm
were you so when you started college? Were you already wakeboarding, or is this something that happened whilst you were in college?
So yeah, so my senior year of high school, senior year of high school, I was at some pro tour stops for tricking, and it was also a wakeboard competition as well because a lot of the ski tournaments were also like the World Cups were also wakeboarding. And I just remember a lot of the wakeboarders they would watch me trick and they're like, "You should start wakeboarding." Like I had so many wakeboarders come up to me and like try to get me to start wakeboarding. And so then I just tried it out like behind my ski boat like one day after school, and I landed pretty much every basic invert. I could yeah. So on my first try, and then I went to a wakeboard boat, and I in Arizona, and I learned how to just grab my board a little bit more. But so in high school, I kind of started a little bit, just kind of seeing if I could even do it.
Hmm.
Just because so many people told me like with my gymnastics background and trick skiing background that they thought that I would be able to pick it up super quickly. So I just gave it a shot, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do it. I mean, I just was trying because so many people told me to do it, and I just thought I might as well give it my best effort. So yeah, and then when I moved to Orlando, it was kind of a goal of mine to see how far I could go with it. I found a coach that helped me so much, and within the first year, I was getting fourth at a bunch of the pro contests, and then the second year that I competed pro, I um, was getting third, and second, and I was like, oh wow, like I definitely learned a lot. In college, the first 2 years I uh, I didn't ski as much as probably a lot of people noticed. I definitely was wakeboarding a lot, but yeah, I kind of took that time to really just focus and see if I could do it, and I picked up a lot of tricks super quickly, and yeah, and then the competitions were going really well, so I didn't even know if I was going to stick with it or not. I just gave it a try, and it worked out. So
That's
it was just kind
impressive.
of, oh, thank you.
It's very
It
impressive.
wasn't,
Like,
yeah, it wasn't like I honestly only thought about it once I was like 17 or 18. Somebody just kind of, people were convincing me to try it out, so I just gave it a go.
wow. No, it's insane. Like after a year, you were like, approaching podiums at Pro Tour stops. That's unbelievable.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that I was noticing is you probably spent roughly a year or two as a skier only, right? So you finished gymnastics, you were kind of skiing for a year or two, and then wakeboarding came also into the scene. So you've been
Yeah.
a dual athlete for the majority of your life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that is
great.
true. That is true. Thank you. Yeah, I think with the skiing, it was like I was only tricking, and then before, I felt like I kind of didn't have a challenge anymore because I had at the time I had the record, and if this was before Anna and Neely had gotten good. They were still really young. So I kind of felt like I had done everything in skiing at the time, that I needed, like my goals, I guess. So I kind of just needed a new challenge, and that's where the wakeboarding kind of gave that for me. But then I ended up getting hurt in wakeboarding one time, in 20, I think it was 2016. And then that was when Anna and Neely, they ended up getting, I mean, obviously they're amazing, but they definitely were getting really good in tricking, and that definitely got a fire under me to to step it up in my tricking. And once I got my knee healed and everything, I came back, and I definitely focused a lot on tricking, and I really wanted to, um, improve and get better, and because they were definitely challenging me, and yeah, so it was awesome. I mean, for if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would even be at the level I am right now, because I probably would have just stayed at my, low 10,000 point run and been satisfied, because
Right.
until the barrier is broken, you don't realize that it's doable. So once they stepped it up, I was like, oh, okay, I need to step it up now. So they challenged me to even push my tricking farther than I probably ever would have. Um, so yeah, just with the wakeboarding, it was like I started that because I felt like I, didn't have a challenge anymore in the tricking, because I didn't know what else to do. But then once they kind of did it, I was like, oh, I need to step it up now. So yeah,
Wow.
so just yeah, just I'm such a competitive. I'm just a competitor. I'm competitive with myself, and I just like to challenge myself. So
Yeah, and of course it's
yeah.
that's the interesting thing I think about trick skiing, right? Because on one hand you have the objective score, right? And so you can keep challenging yourself from that score, but then you have
Yeah.
someone else maybe picking up and you're like, okay, well now it's my time to also
Yeah.
continue to improve, right?
Yeah.
And just to make to specify, when you said you had the record, you had the world record before they were even on
Yeah.
the scene, right?
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. And I've always, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you've always struck me as like a super strong hands tricker, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you had flips, like you were doing flips that nobody was doing in the women's category when you started doing them.
Mm-hmm.
What did it take for you? So after Anna and Neely came to the scene, and you said, "Okay, time to improve."
Yeah.
How did you approach it? Like, did you go more for toes, or how did you approach your improvement there?
Well, I just kind of looked at my runs, and I was trying to evaluate what I really needed to do in order to, have a run that was like, yeah, just to see like what I needed to add to my run that was doable in big tournaments, but also for the record as well. because I had all of the hand tricks already. So I really took to my toe pass, and that has always been my weaker pass for sure. I just kind of I don't go as fast as those other girls sometimes. So I decided to learn some new toe lines. So I learned reverse toe line back to back, which has helped me so much, and that's what I added to my for the world record run. And I just really worked on speeding up um, all of the time in between tricks. So I just got my positioning and my just my whole run just a lot cleaner and faster.
Yeah, because I think, like we have all sorts of listeners, people that might not even trick, and I think one of the things people don't understand is that as you get to your level or even a little bit lower, to gain even just 100 points, you have to reevaluate everything, right?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
think there's a certain level in tricks where you're like, okay, you can pile up tricks, or if you go a little faster, you can add one. But I
yeah,
think at your level, it's like, okay, I have to make such big changes to gain 50 points or 100 points, right?
yeah,
So no, I
yeah, and
think it's such a
yeah, not
challenge.
yeah, and not always like learning the hardest tricks is maybe the best idea, because to put them in a run and connect them, you really have to think of the big picture,
Yeah,
not just stacking up a bunch of tricks and learning how to do all these tricks, which I kind of did, and which I'm glad I did, because it's helped me. I'm like always I love when I was younger. I wanted to work on the big tricks. I loved going out on the set and learning a new trick, a new hard trick,
right.
like a new flip, a new front flip, a new BFF flip, or a, a new toe line. But then at some point you have to be able to implement them into your run and connect them all and make them work in time. So I mean, there's even tricks I have now that I don't even use because I don't have a place for them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just tricking is hard
Yeah, no,
because
I know.
it's not just about learning it. It's about being able to do it in your run and in time and everything.
And what is your process? Because obviously it has to start with learning the trick, like the actual
Mm-hmm.
trick. But then how do you go about, like, do you do sequencing, time sequencing? How do you go about like deciding, okay, this trick I can implement it, or it's valuable to learn this one, or not? What is it? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have a process for it?
Yeah, so I start out by just learning the trick, and then I put it in a sequence, and then I put it into the main run. But once I get it in the sequence with about 4 tricks, like maybe 1 or 2 before and then 2 after, it's pretty much good to go in the run. So I do a lot of sequences, especially in the off season. I don't do full runs. I usually just do sequences to get that timing down. But then I do full runs are also necessary because it helps you get the full thing in time, because you could be doing the sequence in the right amount of time, but to do the full run, I especially learned that with toe passes, because I always was kind of slacking with when it came to doing toe passes. I never liked to do them.
Yep.
So I would just do a lot of sequences of my toes, and then I realized that, my competitors were probably doing 5 toe passes at least every time they were on the water, and I probably wasn't. So that's when I really focused on my toes, and I now do way more toe passes than I ever did, and that's what's helped me get them in time more frequently now. Just
Yeah.
doing more of them. It's just all about repetition.
All right, so this is where me and Erica had a few issues with Skype. Good opportunity to leave a couple of announcements, break the interview. And yeah, the first announcement that I want to make is, and we didn't really talk about it too much in our interview, but Erica was a great collegiate skier too. And so just, I invite you, if you have some ways in which you can help maybe your old ski team or a ski team nearby, a collegiate ski team, there's so many ways you can help them, like whether it's a donation of money or materials, skis, ropes, wetsuits, anything that you can help a collegiate ski team. If you have the ways to do so, now that we're getting close to the holidays, consider it, and that so many interviewees that I've had so far claim that to be the future of our sport and a way to promote it. So, if you can do your part in this holiday season, then go ahead. And the second announcement I want to make is that I'm planning on doing a questions time episode again. The first one I did was well received, so why not doing another one? If you want to shoot me your questions, you can do it on thewaterskipodcast.com/questions, or you can send me an email at matteo@thewaterskipodcast.com. So yeah, back to the interview. What I was saying, yeah, you might have heard it, but I was saying like it's super cool that like that idea of like putting the new trick after a couple and then maybe sandwich it in between a couple of tricks and then eventually implement it in the run. Now, I think it's a smart process.
Yeah.
Because I think what you mentioned about early on, like sort of like your willingness to just like learning new tricks, going out and learning them. I think a lot of trickers go through that phase, right? Of like learning the trick just to learn it and not really having an idea of like, okay, is this actually realistic to put in a run? Is it even gonna work in my run? Or how much do I have to, throw everything aside just to fit this one trick? And I'm curious to hear, what about wakeboarding? Because it seems to me that in wakeboarding, it's almost more accepted, if I may say, to go out and just learn that massive new trick. Is it like that, or you're also thinking runs when you're thinking, how to prepare your wakeboarding run?
Yeah, so with wakeboarding, I definitely treat it a little bit different, and so does every wakeboarder. They're definitely more just trick oriented, and if you can, you could have, maybe not as good of a run as a whole as maybe another athlete, as another one of your competitors, but if you have this big trick at the end, you might even beat the person who had a more well-rounded run, because it's like kind of the wow factor and the kind of, it's subjective, so it's kind of whatever's going to wow the judges, so and you also don't have to flow each trick to the next right after another. Every trick is individual, so with tricking, you have to keep in mind when you're learning new tricks, if it's gonna work with your run. The wakeboarding is completely individual. You land one trick and you have at least 10 seconds in between the next trick to get your composure together and go again. So it's much more. It doesn't have to flow. I usually with wakeboarding, I do have a run, but then I always have I have a trick that I don't make all the time, but if I want to throw it at the end, my last trick, I can, and I would never do that with tricking. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if it's not going to be a full stand-up run, I usually wouldn't do it for tricking. But for wakeboarding, we also have a thing called the wild card trick at the end. If we make our whole pass, we get to do an extra trick at the dock. So that's also an incentive to learn new tricks and to try new tricks and everything. And they do give, in wakeboarding, they give you points, and they reward you for going for big tricks rather than just going for the easy ones. Where in tricking, it's much more precise and
right.
Because I mean, for tricking, I have a bunch of things that I don't do because the point value on them it's maybe only 50 points more than an easier trick that I do, or it's too risky to do in my run. But I have them, so I don't know. It's just a different format. So I treat them my mindset is different going off the dock.
Yeah, I can imagine. They're quite different sports. They are judged differently, so I can see how the difference in preparation and how you approach them is entirely different.
Yeah.
Let's actually explain it for someone, like this. I would imagine the vast majority of these the listeners to this podcast are water skiers. So they might not even know how wakeboarding works. They might have seen it, obviously. So it's a course, right? And then you have to fit tricks within that course?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to tricking, where there's a start buoy and an end buoy, but you don't have the time limit. but you do have to start after the buoy, and you do have to end your tricks before the end buoy. Otherwise, that last trick wouldn't count. So you do have to, fit it in that between the buoys. But yeah, you get a down and back, and then you get one fall, and then your second fall you have to swim to the shore. But yeah, and then you only get 4 tricks each way, so you get a total of 8 tricks, and that's to help with the quality over the quantity of tricks. So you want to do your 8 best tricks, and yeah, they'll pick you up with one fall, and yeah, it's super subjective. So I say it's subjective, but there's no point value to each trick. So, but when you're watching it, especially when you know the sport, you can kind of tell who is going to get first, second, third, or fourth, just based on knowing how difficult the tricks that each person is throwing. So it's subjective in the way that, you want to make every trick look good and you want to do hard tricks, but it's pretty easy to tell because there's always kind of a gap between, some people will do, for the girls' side, it's always like the top 3 girls are at least doing 2 or 3 mobe tricks where it's a flip with a 360 handle pass, some sort of technical type of trick, and some spins, and you have to make sure you're grabbing your board quite a bit. So it's kind of easy to tell where everyone belongs, but it's not 100% concrete. It's not like I tricked 10,100 and then another person did this. It's
right.
You don't always know 100% who's going to get first, second, or third, which is kind of fun, but it's also based off of how clean you look and how high you went. And that's what
there's some categories, right? There's like height, there's intensity, there's
intensity. Overall impression is one of them. Difficulty, but they don't use that. Like, you don't have to do a certain. It used to be where you had to have criteria. You had to match exactly what they wanted. You needed to have so many types of this trick and that trick, but now you can do whatever you want. You just need to know, based on being around wakeboarding, what you need to do. You need to mix it up. You need to do at least a couple spins. You need to do some tech tricks, maybe some style tricks. But yeah, it's subjective, but everyone kind of has a basis for what they know they need to do. And I see when I compete, I'll watch the people before me, and I know that I can maybe do one less of my hard trick if maybe a girl fell, then I might not go for my super hard trick because I want to make it through to the next round, just kind of play it safe. So yeah, so it's subjective, but you never know. Also, it could always depend. And for me, what I'm good at is I go really high. I get a lot of amplitude on all of my tricks. Right. So even I had a judge one time tell me that it was between second or third place for me at an event, and I ended up getting second, but I had one less technical trick in my run than the girl who got third. But since I made every trick look really good, I went super big on everything and was super clean, that they told me that was why I ended up getting second. So it's super, you never know. So yeah, that's just how it works. Nothing's concrete or anything. So it kind of makes it fun and interesting. Sometimes I think people get mad at the judges sometimes, but I guess that's how it goes.
And then in wakeboarding, the judges are actually all in the boat, right?
Yeah, so they're all on the boat, and I think they take notes and kind of judge on the spot, and then they all talk about it after all of the girls have ridden or all the guys have ridden. They talk about it, but they all have had a score. They have a score beforehand, but then they kind of talk about it amongst themselves a little bit. But I think they do score you on their own individually, and then they come together and kind of make a final decision.
And how was that as a tricker, where the judges are in a tower, they watch you on the screen, And then now in wakeboarding, it must have been a little strange at first when you started competing that all the judges were like there just looking at you, you know?
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of funny because, and it's really fun because actually like they kind of interact with you too, the judges in the boat. When you do something really cool, they like get super hyped up and they get so excited and they'll like start cheering, and it's kind of fun. Like my first couple wakeboard contests, I was like, wow, like this is kind of cool. Like I would end my first pass and I would do something that they liked and they were like all cheering, but they're the ones judging me, so it was just funny. But it's almost like it's kind of like putting on a show. You just have to. It's kind of you just go out there and kind of do your best and just try to impress them, I guess.
Yeah. Seems like the name of the game, right?
Yeah, just gotta you have to impress them with whatever tricks you have. So.
Yep. Wow. And look, how one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about, and you might completely kill this, but it seems to me that thanks to, skiers like yourself, Anna, Neely, and in general, the women trick skiing is much closer to the men trick skiing than women wakeboarding is to men wakeboarding. Like it seems to me like the gap is completely different. I mean, even just let's look at it in terms of points, say. Like, you just did a new world record, which was 11,260, which is absolutely insane. And then the men's world record is something like 12,7, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a difference, but, a lot of the tricks are similar. The points are not that big of a gap. And then in wakeboarding, I look at some of the spins that the guys do and some of the spins that the women's do, and there seems to be like they spin twice as much as you guys do. So what do you reconcile? What do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah,
Am I off?
I mean,
am I off completely?
No, you're completely on. Yeah, I completely agree. It's since I do both, it's kind of interesting because, my ability on the trick ski is definitely way closer to the men than on the wakeboarding. But I can't. But the thing is I can't even. I can picture myself. I think I could. I mean, I would like to say, maybe one day I could trick 12, and I could physically see me doing that. Like I think I could do it, but with wakeboarding, I don't think I could do 1080s or the Mo 7s that they're doing. So I don't know. I think I don't know what some people think about this, but I don't know. I think it comes down to in wakeboarding, the strength. I think strength is a huge key factor, and I think I don't know. Some people might disagree and say girls can do it as well, but I don't know. So wakeboarding, I think, is a lot more strength oriented than tricking. Tricking is a lot more finesse, and and that's why I think tricking is so hard. Obviously, you have to start when you're so young to be able to do it, but a lot of it's more body position and just being in the right with the right body position and finesse and where wakeboarding, I think it's more just strength and having no fear and the no fear. But a lot of the girls have no fear either. I don't know. It's crazy because a lot of the girls, put their body on the line all the time, and we're trying to push the limits. And there's some girls who are so good. Some of the other girls, the top girls as well, they're killing it. But the level is just nowhere near the guys. And I think it comes down to the strength and maybe just the way that women's bodies are made and just the way. I don't know.
No, it's a tough question, right? Like I don't know the answer, but it seems to be there.
It's controversial, maybe a little controversial because some people, say that women can do what men can do, but I agree. But then I don't know. I think the strength kind of comes into play for wakeboarding.
Okay,
a little bit.
Seems reasonable, and it's kind of one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of freestyle sports, right? So snowboarding, skateboarding, it just seems that the gap, maybe skateboarding a little less actually, but in snowboarding, it seems like the gap even just in the pipe or on the structures is really big, or big air
Yeah.
even more. So yeah, maybe strength, or maybe there's that
Strength
fear
or
factor. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I know. I'm like maybe one day, you know, in the future, women's action sports will get to the same level. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It is interesting because it is crazy how the trick skiing is so similar. But I think it's because it's so much finesse and body, um, yeah, just body positioning. Just if you're in the right place with your body on the ski, then it's gonna work a certain way, and it's not too strenuous. Um,
Yeah.
or as dangerous maybe. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted, I mean, I don't think that I know anyone better than you that has an inside view on both, right? So I was really
Yeah.
curious to hear your take on this.
Yeah. And I mean, with wakeboarding, I personally get more scared every time I'm on the wakeboard than I am on the trick ski. I mean, every time I'm on the wakeboard, you know, I guess it's kind of like jumping. You just have to respect it, and you have to, you know, not you have to have no fear. You can't think about, you know, all the negatives of what could go wrong. You have to be thinking that you're gonna make the trick and it's gonna be good. But you know, I'm a little more careful. I'm kind of, you know, try to keep my body intact, and you
Yeah.
know, on the tip ski, I'm more willing to flail my body around and land on my head if I need to learn a trick. You know, with wakeboarding, I'm a little more careful. So it could be the mindset of with tricking, I'm not scared of anything when I'm on the trick ski, so I go for it and I try as many times as I need to get it, like maybe 100 times to get a trick right, you know. Where on the wakeboard, I take 5 bad falls and I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day,
Home.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bring me to the
So,
dock.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So
you
that's
know, the way that you described it, you know, like it seems to me like wakeboarding is an extreme sport, because
yeah.
to a certain extent, to improve your performance, so landing a harder trick, you have to risk more. Similarly
Mhm.
to jumping, like you can have the best technique in the world, but at the end of the day, if you don't bring it down after a while, you won't go any further, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I mean, yeah, with wakeboarding, it's at the end of the day, if you don't like, I could be out on the water. I mean, there's been times where, you know, I'm kind of scared to try a trick, and it's like if you never go for it, you're never gonna learn it. So you're gonna
Yeah.
have to do it at some point, you know. So yeah, it's just the risk of, you know, you can definitely get hurt on the wakeboard, whereas the trick ski, it's, you know, a little less common to get hurt. So it's more, you know, I'm way more willing to go for anything
And
on the
tricks.
ski. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And do you find like sort of like prep stuff for wakeboarding to help? I'm thinking like trampoline, foam pits. Is that something that you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely did a lot more when I was in gymnastics, but yeah, I still make time to. I'll go down and jump on the tramp, and when my wakeboarding coach in Orlando, Florida, actually has a tramp built into his dock, which really helps a lot. So I can jump on the tramp with the handle and kind of figure out what I need to do before I go out on the water. So that helps a
Nice,
lot. Hmm.
nice. Yeah, no, I can see, especially like in a sport where you have to get a certain amount of risk to actually get to try that. Like seems like preparatory steps are a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and with wakeboarding, it's also some people don't do this. Some people just go for the trick at the full speed and full line length. But what I found was really helpful was my coach Glenn Fletcher in Florida. He, I mean, he makes it so we slow the boat down to about 20 miles an hour, so about what I trick ski at, and
Yeah.
then we shorten the line length to about 50 feet when I first learn. When I first learn a trick. So, and I learn it. I learn the tricks one wake, so I'm landing in the center. So I'll do it a bunch like that. He'll even cut the engine when I'm in the air, so that I land and it's just soft water. So that's how I learned a lot of my tricks was going super slow, super short line, and just doing it one wake. And then once I could get it, at least land on my board, I would then go a little bit longer and then go two wake, and then just keep easing it out and out. So that was really helped me, because I'm fearless, but there comes a point where I definitely think about a lot of things, and if I can't see myself doing it, then I won't do it. I have to make sure they'll at least land on my board. So
Right.
that helped me a lot.
Nice. Yeah, no, it seems like a good preparatory step-by-step procedure, and to put it to eventually have it and potentially in the run.
Yeah.
Do you have any prep stuff like that for trick skiing as well, or did you used to have them growing up? Like, can you think of a trick where you maybe like had to do some middle steps?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of drills you can do that I'll even do if if I'm doing a trick wrong or a little bit off. I'll go back and do a drill either behind the boat or even on the land, especially for ski lines and for toe lines. I did a lot of on land training. You tie a rope to a tree or something and practice it like that. But yeah, I did a lot of drills, and a lot of times you need to go take a step back to take a step, 2 steps forward. So
Yep.
yeah, I still do drills to this day, even on the ski and on the wakeboard.
Yeah. No. So even like just tricks that you already know how to do, just to sort of prepare yourself.
Yeah, especially when after I've taken a little bit of time off, I'll ease into it and do some drills, just do some, things that will just get me ready to once I want to do my full run again.
Yep. Cool. Well, speaking of runs, I think it's time in our interview to talk about your world record.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, awesome.
So where was it? What day was it? Give me the whole story.
Okay, well, I don't remember the exact day, but I know it was in October, and it was at the Jack's tournament, the Jack's Fall Classic tournament, and it was on the second round that I did the 10-860. So the first round, I remember I'd been training in Arizona before this, and I knew I was ready. I've been trying to do this run for 2 years now. So last year I almost did it, but I did a little bit of an easier version. But yeah, so I've been training this run for a while. But yeah, so I knew I was ready leading up to it. And then the first round, I was making it in practice, and it was in time, but it just, it has to all come together in that one round and on that day, and everything has to work. And then, yeah, and I always do I'll do a good handle pass or something, and I'm at the end of the lake, and I know I have to put a good toe pass together, and something always goes wrong. There's always one thing that's off. So, so it ended up working out. But the first round, I went too slow. So I went too slow on both passes. Actually, I thought I made both runs, but both passes, the last trick was out of time on both rounds. So then the second round, I just was like, okay, we're just gonna go, just go fast. That's all I told myself, just go. Don't worry about falling, just go. So then my handle
pass. Did you know? Sorry, like that first round, because was it one of those where you finished the run and you're like, this was probably a little slow?
Yeah, I knew it was fast, but I kind of had a feeling that at least one of them was probably out of time. But but the thing with the round that I did it on was the handle pass. I didn't think it was, because if you saw the video, the flips I went pretty big on the flips, but I think I did, the time between the tricks was actually pretty quick. So when I was at the end of the lake, I really was like, oh, well, that hand pass probably wasn't in time. I didn't really know. It wasn't like the fastest hand pass I'd ever done ever. So I really wasn't too stressed going into my toe pass. So I kind of just was really relaxed for my toe pass, the one in the record. And I think that's the reason why I put it together, was because I wasn't too nervous about it, and I wasn't overthinking anything. I was just skiing how I know how to ski, whenever I do a perfect hand pass, I always seem to get too worked up and I'm too nervous, so I mess up the toe pass. So that round I wasn't as nervous for the toe pass, which I think is why it worked out, you know?
Yeah, no, it's funny how that works, right? Like if you have a great one, like some people will go, okay, now it's toes. Whereas some people,
Yeah.
might go, ooh, the toes need to be really good now,
Yeah. So I was kind of like a little bit bummed after my hand pass because I was like, oh, that probably wasn't fast enough. So I was just kind of going into the toe pass really, nonchalant, like whatever. I was like, still do it. I knew I still had it. Like, I was like, it still could probably be in time. So like, let's not just totally mess this up. But
Right.
I wasn't as stressed about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which helps.
Which helps. And that's
helps.
how every one of my records has ever gone. It's gone exactly like that. It's where everything wasn't in the hand. It didn't seem like it was fast enough or something, like it's always like that. It's whenever you least expect it, it happens. So
yeah,
all of my past, every time I've done the record, it's when I wasn't really thinking I was going to do it, or I wasn't really very stressed. I wasn't overthinking, not forcing it to happen, just kind of skiing the best I can ski.
Yeah. So like the knowledge that you were already in practice, but then going there and to the best of your ability, just let it happen. Right.
Yeah. So I knew it was going to happen at some point. It's hard to know when, I'm so happy it happened this year because I've had the run for so long. It just has to it has to all work out in that one round.
Yeah, no, I know. Like in tricks, there's so many variables. Like it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer starting hands and then going toes, or you're sort of like flexible with it?
Yeah. So I've only ever done hands first. Because that's just how, I don't know. I don't know why, because everyone else most people, I guess, do toes first. But yeah, I grew up always doing hands first, maybe because that's always been my strength. And I've tried doing toes first, like more recently I was, one time for the wind or something, but I seem to not do as well like that because for me, the hands I start strong out of the hole and then I feel like I kind of get the more strenuous run out of the way first. And it kind of, if I had to do that second, I think I would be too tired to do my hand run second. So I don't know. Just like going off the dock, my adrenaline's going high. I'm ready. Just start with hands and I don't know. I've always done it that way.
No, I know. And there are some, as you said, there are some trickers that are like, no, I have to do the toes first. That's just how it needs to happen.
Yeah, some people are like the toe pass kind of warms them up for the hand pass, but for me, I think I would be too tired or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Who was in the boat for you for the record?
So Matt Rini was in the boat.
Oh,
which
wow.
is cool. Yeah, he's been helping me a lot. So when I'm in Orlando, I train with him, and then when I'm at home in Arizona, I train with Richard Abelson.
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool that Matt was in the boat since he had been helping me so much in the last year with my tricks.
Sweet. No, of course, it's nice to have someone that has been working with you in the boat for a record like that, right?
Yeah.
How important is trust for you with the person that you have in the boat?
Like for pinning or just for?
I'd say for competition, yeah, which obviously includes pinning for toes, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I used to have my mom in the boat, but my mom gets so nervous and way more nervous than me. So she is not allowed in the boat anymore.
Okay.
So she stays on the dock. But yeah, no, she's awesome for supporting me and everything. But yeah, I don't let her pin anymore because she gets so nervous. But I just like somebody who is relaxed and obviously wants me to do well, but not too nervous or anything. I always have, either Matt Rini, Richard Abelson. Sometimes I'll have at Moomba, I'll have maybe Wayne Bryant in the boat, just Jimmy Seamers, just somebody who is super chill, relaxed, kind of keeps me in a good mood. Kind of relaxes me and tries to make me less nervous.
Yeah, because obviously a lot of people think of like the person in the boat, but generally that person in the boat is on the dock with you before you ski. So I think there's also that dynamic that is interesting.
Just someone who kind of just can kind of keep my nerves down and obviously who I trust with to pin me, but yeah, just kind of someone who can keep the energy good, because I get nervous, so I mean a little bit, so I just try to just someone that's in a good mood and good vibes.
Yeah, no, of course it's important.
Mm-hmm.
How so here I'm interested because you said, you got to a point in your tricking where you felt there wasn't really like stimulus to continue or to keep pushing, and possibly the wakeboarding happened at the same time, so thank God for that.
Yeah.
But I know it's fresh, but how do you feel now? Like, are you stoked to work on new tricks? Are you looking forward to events, or you're more like wakeboarding focused at the moment?
No, so I am actually I'm very motivated now after this, and I have been with my tricking for the last I don't know 2.5, 3 years, ever since after my knee surgery. So after my knee surgery, and when those girls started, beating me a little bit, I really was like, I'm so competitive. So I was just like, no, let's get it together, Erika.
Right.
We have to focus. So ever since then, I've really had a lot of motivation to really up my trick skiing ability. But yeah, even now, I mean, every time I do I do something, either do well at a competition or break a record or anything, my motivation for it even goes, even gets bigger and better. So I just after this, I'm even more motivated, and I feel like I can keep pushing it even more. But yeah, there was a time, back in, when I started college and everything, where I felt like I had done everything, and I didn't really, Anna and Neely weren't competing against me yet. So I just kind of felt like, I was like, it was kind of easy for me to just go to an event and do well. So I didn't have that competitive atmosphere that I was looking for. And I loved skiing, obviously, and tricking, but I think that's why I started wakeboarding also, is just because I got another challenge. So I'm so glad for that. But now, I mean, now the event is so hard. There's so many good girls. Even, there's other girls that are so good, like Natalia Kukovan and Natalia Bernikova and Janina Bonneman. They're all awesome. So the event is it's very competitive. It's hard to make the podium. Even for me to make the podium, sometimes I'm like, you can't mess up. So
Right.
it is definitely a challenge now. So it's, I mean, sometimes I think it's harder to make the podium on a trick ski than it is on the wakeboard. So, I definitely had a point where my motivation wasn't as high as it is right now. But yeah,
Well, it's
but
certainly
now,
good to hear. It's certainly good to hear.
but yeah, I was definitely and I was excited. I was starting college, and there was so many new things going on. Now after this, I'm, sometimes I didn't have very good worlds this year, so that was kind of my motivation was a little bit down after that one. But you got to keep working hard, and I knew that I could do this if I kept working at it. So I'm excited, and I think I can even push it more in the future. So I have a few very alterations I can make to my run for next year. So I'm excited.
Wow. Yeah, no. I mean, the ski world is looking forward to those. Now, 11 to 60, was that everything on time, or you missed like a couple of extra points there?
Yeah, so that was everything. The only thing that I could have done, but I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, was after my ski line back to back on my hand pass, I could have done a surface back to back. So that would be, I did it, but I did it way late, too
Right.
late, because I kind of So, but it was pretty much, it was everything. So that 11 to 60 was everything. But yeah, I can definitely in the future. I'm gonna be either adding an easy back to back after my hand pass, or I will have to change my toe run around completely, and I'm gonna have to do what the guys do, which is like adding toe line 5 in and taking out either my toe 7 or taking out a surface toe O, in the middle for time in order to make time for that. So that would, that would boost me to about, I don't know the exact points, but I know it'd be around like 11.5 or something.
That's
So
unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty sure I just hear that from my coaches, but I need to do the math to know exactly what it would be, but I'm pretty sure it'd be around 11. I think 11.5 is possible in the future. So,
I must admit, Erika, like I have so much respect for you to still push yourself, and I'll tell you why. Like you're involved in trick skiing and wakeboarding. Wakeboarding has a healthy pro tour. There's tournaments with money, bigger opportunities for sponsorships. Like it's a completely different environment. In tricks, you have 2 or 3 tournaments and very little with. I mean, there's Mumbai Masters with money, but that kind of ends there.
yeah.
What pushes you to continue? I mean, it sounds to me like you're treating both of them on an equal level. You're equally motivated in wakeboarding as you are in tricks, and I find it extremely commendable.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I think for me, it's all just I love I love getting the paycheck with the podium, but I do it more for myself, and I just think I'm just self-motivated and on a personal level, because I've been doing tricking my whole life, and it's just it's more, I would say, I do treat them, I probably spend the same amount of time training for them, but I do treat probably tricking still a little bit more. I still put it a little bit higher than I do for wakeboarding, because it's kind of like, it's more my thing, you know what I mean? I still view that my identity is still more of a skier than a wakeboarder, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just more of a personal thing for me for skiing, because I've been doing it so long, and my goal since I was 10, I first wanted to be the first woman over 10,000 points, but that didn't happen because Clem did it, and I was only like 14 at the time. So I was tricking. I think the day she tricked 10 was the first day I tricked 9 for the first time. We were at different tournaments, but I still remember, and I was so mad because I was like, I wanted to be the first one over 10. And so then after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to be the first over 11, I guess. So right. I still remember that it was just a personal goal since I was young. So I think it's just, I don't get any, obviously, like there's not that much fame or money that comes from the sport, but it's just something I've been doing for so long. So it's just some, lifelong goals, I guess, that I just needed to finish just for myself,
yeah.
I guess.
No, and I think those are extremely important, and as I said, commendable. And even more so, like kudos to you for putting all this work and all this passion into it, like it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
And yet, I'm curious to hear what do you think is missing in tricks for it to be maybe a little bit more, I don't know, appealing to crowds, or, because, you're a skier. You've seen that, over the years, jump events at, some tournaments with money up and down. Slalom skiing went down and then sort of caught back up exponentially in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
What's missing in trick skiing in terms of
Yeah, I know. I have conversations with so many people about this, and I don't know. It's hard because it's like I would love for more people to be interested in it and watch it, and I don't know. I think even our sport in general. I think if we could just get it on, more live streams online and just more media coverage on television, that would help just to make people more aware of the sport in general. Because I show people what I do, sometimes like a video or something, and people are just so confused. They're like, what is that? Is that wakeboarding? What is that? Like, they don't even know. So just, I guess, more awareness of what it even is maybe would help. I think just more media just in general for our sport. Just if we can somehow, even wakeboarding too, it's crazy how little media coverage that even gets too, which I think, I mean, I hope in the next, 5 years or something, it'll, we'll get more media. Maybe the sport will at some point get into the Olympics, or wakeboarding into the X Games, or jumping into the X Games. But that's what I think we really need. It's just so hard to, to get there. But that's what I think it's going to take to really take the sport to the next level.
More media coverage,
for
sure.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. So it's hard because I wish, like I would love for, it to be on TV and everything, or even just online more than it is. It's crazy to see, like the snowboard athletes in the Olympics. They're like celebrities. Everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
But the wakeboarders, even the top male wakeboarders, they're nowhere near that level of fame. Just because, and the only reason is because they're not on TV. They're not in the Olympics, and they're not in the X Games. Just because the public watches those events.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so exposed, and wakeboarding was in the X Games for a few years, and in those years, wakeboarding, saw an exponential increase in, like, boats sold and boards sold and tournaments popping up all over. Yeah. Yeah. And then how do we get there? Who knows? But it seems like that seems to be the solution. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I know it was in the X Games like 10 years ago. And that was when wakeboarding was just, so popular, and so many people knew about it, and all the athletes were like celebrities, like Dallas Friday, Parks Bonifay, all of them. But that's what we need, and I hope at some point in the future that it'll get in, and even I think jumping could get in the X Games as well, and then 3 event could be in the Olympics at some point. That would be cool. I know the motorized vehicle, like no motors or whatever, but is like one of the rules. But I don't know. Right. That's what it's gonna take, though, and I'll probably be 40 at that point, and I'll probably be retired. But
well, which will make me well retired. So
yeah.
Well, at least we'll hopefully one day we'll get to watch it. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll get to watch it on TV. So maybe
Right. And then look. You mentioned how trick skiing and gymnastics, like a sort of like a background, seem to have transferred fairly well into wakeboarding. I mean, gosh, you were approaching pro podiums after a year. Have you noticed anything in wakeboarding that might have transferred back into the trick skiing?
Yeah, so it definitely has. So I think, with tricking, it definitely, a lot of my tricks, I transferred over to the wakeboard directly. But with wakeboarding, I think I've just become more confident on the water. And I've just brought more confidence to my trick skiing, where when I don't do something, even when because wakeboarding, not everything is always perfect. So I've brought that component to my trick skiing as well, where, if I mess up a little bit or something's not completely perfect, I still can roll with it and just go with the flow, and just and I think I've gotten even more comfortable on my trick ski, just because I've just switched it up a little bit, turn my feet sideways, and kind of just like I think I'm just more skilled on the water in general, because I've just tried different variations of, I kind of do the same tricks but just in a different stance sometimes, so like it's just I think my control of rope control and edge control, everything has just gotten better on both, just because of the switching back and forth. And awesome. Confidence too. It's just like another event, like a 3-eventer might, have more confidence on the water than a 1-eventer, because they can do everything. So I think just a lot of competing. I'm on the dock, competing more too. So just I have more events in the year as well, so it doesn't seem like I don't get as, with tricking, I have 2 events, so I would get more nervous, but now I have more events, so I'm more calm, and I'm like, if this one doesn't work out, at least I got another one coming up. So.
And you're getting more reps. Like, you're getting more mental reps of being on the dock, wearing your
Mm-hmm.
bib on, having to
Yeah.
perform, So for sure, I can see how that also helps the other event out, right?
Yeah. Just being in that mindset more often than, so now I know, if it doesn't go well, I'm like, okay, well, what did I do? Why didn't it go well? So just more reps of it, and makes me a better competitor.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And do you compartmentalize your season, or do you have moments in the season where, like, literally in the morning you're tricking, in the afternoon you're wakeboarding because you have like an event here, an event there?
Yeah. So when for Moomba and Masters, those are the two events where I do both at them. So before those events, I'm doing both. I'm wakeboarding and skiing in the same day.
Yeah.
But then I definitely do where if I just have a ski competition coming up, I only ski for those 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because I'm always kind of doing both. But then when I have a competition coming up, I will just do that. And then same with wakeboarding. If I just have a wakeboard competition coming up, I'll only wakeboard.
Okay.
Just to just because I don't want to burn myself out, and it doesn't really mess me up to go from back and forth. Doesn't, like, my tricks don't get off or anything. I just do it just more for just focus, kind of,
Yeah.
focus reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can see that. No,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like if you have to, might have to do it, but if you can just spend 2 days, like 2 weeks on the
Mm-hmm.
board or 2 weeks on the ski,
Yeah.
yeah, it helps you with your
Yeah.
focus. Yeah, I can see
So
that.
yeah, the Masters and the Moomba, though, that can get crazy sometimes, because I can't do it. I can't do all of the events behind the same boat. So I'm always driving. I have a wakeboard boat in Orlando, but I have to go, train at Matt Reaney's, and then I have to go train on my boat. So it's a little bit more work than if I was just to slalom and trick or something.
Yeah.
And then this was really crazy this year at Moomba. I had to wakeboard, like, I think it was like 15 minutes before I had to trick. So it was back. The events were back to back, and my adrenaline was running so high from my wakeboarding that when I got out on the trick ski for the prelim round, I was just like, I looked like I was wakeboarding, because I was going so big. My adrenaline, like, I hadn't calmed down yet from my ride. So
Right.
I still made it through and everything, but I just was, that switch over was the hardest. I've never had to do them that close to back before. So that was crazy.
So literally like life jacket out, binding
Yeah.
on, a quick
Yeah.
repetition of the run on the dock and then go.
Yeah, when I was getting ready for my wakeboard set, the girls were already down there getting ready for their trick set. So I was like, I have to wakeboard before I trick. Like, this is crazy. And I was, yeah, so that was the hardest. But usually it's, I have a couple hours at least in between. But that time I saw it on the schedule and I was like, oh my, like, are you kidding me?
Well, you're also probably the only person, actually for sure the only person that does both, right? So
Yeah, they probably weren't thinking about it, so they weren't
right,
thinking about me, obviously. But
right,
yeah.
right. Do you know of anyone else? I mean, at least I'm not aware of anyone else, maybe not even at your level, that is combining like tricking and wakeboarding, like trying to pursue both?
Mhm. Um, I mean, I know back in the day, like Corey Picos and Russell Gay and a couple other guys did it. Like, I know they competed at the Masters
Yeah.
in both at one point, but recently I don't know. I mean, Tara Benzel Mikasic, the wakeboarder now. She used to compete in skiing, but then she fully went to wakeboarding.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't not recently, not that I know of. But I mean, I actually was surprised that I'm surprised more people don't try it out and see if. I think a lot of the trick skiers pick up the wakeboarding quickly if they wanted to. So yeah, maybe in the future some people will, but I don't
Yeah.
think at the moment anyone is.
Yeah, no, I was curious to know if you knew of some kid or some younger tricker that might have decided, okay, I'm going to give it a shot to wakeboarding as well?
Yeah. I mean, the person who I think really stands out to me was Aaron Raffy. He was like one of the best, 3-event, like I think he was at one time like junior world champion in all 3 events, and he was like the next rising star, and then for Canada, and then he decided to just drop it and start wakeboarding. Yeah. So and then he's amazing at wakeboarding as well. I think he's just a really talented athlete in general. But yeah, so I think he was the one that did it the best with he was a really successful skier already. And then wakeboarding now. So
yeah, I remember his scores were like unreal. I think he did a junior worlds at age 14 where like he ran 38 off at 36, tricked 9+, and jumped insanely, so
yeah.
And then he shocked the ski world. They're like, okay, well, this is the new Jarrett, the new, the new Patrice Martin, and then he just said, wakeboarding, see you later.
Yeah. Yeah, he must have seen more, maybe at the time, more opportunity for him to wakeboard. I don't know.
Yeah, no, at the time when he did it, it was like early 2000s. So obviously the difference in opportunity was so blatant. Like skiing was, collapsing and wakeboarding was rising. So
yeah,
no wonder.
Yep.
Sweet. And so what are you skiing? What are you riding next year? What are the top events that you're preparing for next year? I know it's off season, so we maybe shouldn't talk about them, but why not?
Yeah. So, my first event, first big event of the year is the Moomba Masters in March. So that's the first event that I'm training for, which is both ski and wake. But then, I also have some record tournaments I know in the spring as well. So those are probably the first ones that I'm going to be trying to do. So maybe, try out my new run again for tricking, my new run. Yep. Try to implement another trick to go even higher. And then there's Masters. And then we don't know for wakeboarding, they don't release the tour until later. I don't think I know. I haven't looked, but I don't think that they've put the places where the tour is yet. Okay. So they usually do, I think, in January or February. So I don't know exactly where I'm going yet, but yeah, those we definitely have. I wish for tricking we would have more events, at some point in the future. But yeah, there's definitely for girls for wakeboarding we have about 5 events. Including Moomba and Masters. So there's like 3 or 4 extra ones. So I don't know where those are yet, but yeah.
Well, hopefully we get to do this again next year at some point so we can get a sense of how your season is going.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Hopefully it will go well.
Look, I'm sure you already given proof of great achievements in both. So,
Well, thank you.
Look, Erika, this was a true pleasure. Wow, thank you so much for, coming in and doing this. Any final thoughts? Anyone you want to thank,
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. And I'd like to thank, all of my coaches and sponsors and parents who have, helped me get to the level that I'm at. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. And I just have so much fun on the water. I love the sport. So, I'm going to keep pushing myself as far as I can go and see where both skiing and wakeboarding take me in the future.
Well, we'll be here witnessing it all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sweet. Boom. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that went well. I think some of them I could have answered maybe better, but it's okay.
Okay. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, those were good questions.